Good morning. Yesterday we discussed about the different steps involved in the research process. Okay, the research process is one where we carry out research from the beginning to end. What all the activities which are taking place in the tenure of the research, they are called as the research steps. And in what sequence we need to pursue our research, that all we discuss in the research process. Well, that all we discussed in the previous class. Even though to get continuity for the next point, so I would like to recapitulate all the steps which we discussed yesterday. Okay, the first one is the formulation of the research problem. The second step is the literature survey. The third one is developing the hypothesis. And the fourth one is preparation of the research design. Fifth one, determination of the sample design. And sixth step is collection of the data. And the seventh one is execution of the project. And eighth one is analysis of the data. And ninth one is the hypothesis testing. And 10th one is generalization and interpretation of the research. And the 11th step is preparation of the report or the presentation of the results. So these steps have to be adopted in our research process. Okay, so each point has been elaborately discussed in the previous class. So today I wanted to discuss about the research problem. Okay, and already I told you that a research problem, identification of the research problem, plays a very important role and crucial role. The research problem is something like a foundation of a building. Okay, if the problem is wrong, if the problem is should not remain as a problem at the end of the research. Okay, that's why the selection of the problem should be very important. For the problem, at the end, we should have a solution. We should have an answer for the problem. So this is how the selection of the problem plays a very important role. Okay, so in this context, I define what is research problem. Research problem is a difficulty which a researcher experiences in context to either theoretical or practical situation, and he wants to obtain the solutions for the same. So this is known as a research problem. The research problem is an issue or a problem where they do not have solution for presently in their hand. So it might be either in the it might be either theoretical or practical, or in the industry, or in the business, or in the institute. So that is called as the research problem. Okay, then there are some components of the research problem. What are those components? Okay, there must be individual or the group which has some difficulty or the problem. So how do you get the problem? The problem might be faced by some of the groups in the society, or an individual might be facing some issues or some problem. Okay, then second, there must be some objective to be attained. Okay, so if the problem is there, we need to define the objectives so as to get the solutions for the given problem. Okay, the problem should be such that we can derive the objectives for the problem. So problem should be like that. Then there must be an alternative means to get a solution for a given problem. So there are many alternatives for solving the problem. So each alternative has got its own time and cost involved. So which one is the best alternative to get the solutions for the problem within short time? That is the challenge. And there must remain some doubt in the mind of the researcher with regards to the selection of the alternatives. Okay? And if they have such things, they need to discuss or brainstorm with the experienced or the knowledgeable people to clarify the doubt. Okay? Then there must be some environment to which the difficulty pertains. Okay, the problem, simply the problem which has been selected, it has no use to the society or the industry or the business or to the society, then what is the use of selecting the problem? So problem selection should be such that, so whatever the solution we get for the problem, it should be useful to the society. So these are some of the components how to be considered while selecting the research problem. Then selection of the problem. Okay, it's one of the most important item. Okay, the subject or the area of the research or the broad title of the research, okay, which is overdone should not be normally chosen. Okay, there's some of the areas, so there's a huge research, there's extensive research, many researchers or many scientists are involved in the research. So we do not have any scope for the research because research has been done extensively in that area. So the area has to be chosen such that, okay, the people have worked less, the scientists or the researcher worked less in that domain. For example, take my example. I worked on supply chain optimization using artificial intelligence tools. So very few have worked on supply chain optimization, and some people worked on use of artificial intelligence tools for other areas of the subject or the other areas of the research, not in supply chain management. So I took that one as an opportunity of using artificial intelligence tools in my domain, that is supply chain optimization. So like this, and also no person has used these artificial intelligence tools in supply chain network optimization. So such a tool like particle swarm optimization, it is a new artificial intelligence. I am the first person to use that AI tool in my supply chain optimization. So the problem should be like that. Okay. So then controversial subject should not be taken as a choice for our research problem. Okay, the problem should not be controversial issue or should not be ambiguous one. Okay, the problem should be very clear. Such problem has to be identified. Then too narrow or too vague problem should not be selected. Too vague or too narrow problem should not be selected. Okay, the problem should be somewhat big. Okay, and it should be clear. Then fourth, the selected research should be familiar and feasible so that the related research material or the sources of the research are within the one's reach. Okay, I told you that the domain which we identify, we should have certain expertise, a certain experience in that domain. So if you identify the research problem in that domain, it will be very easy for us to pursue or continue our research. Okay, then and also while selecting the problem, once we identify the problem, we need to identify what sort of equipments are required, what sort of machineries are required, What will be the cost involved? What are the materials are required? Are the materials available in the market? What is the cost of the material? Okay, and what of testing equipments are required? So whether the resource people are available in the market, whether any people have worked, any people have worked on this area. So like that we need to identify all these with respect to the problem. Okay, if all these things are available and feasible to our budget, our time, then we need to select that problem. So these are some of the issues are to be considered for the before we select the problem. Okay, so that at the end will not land up with issues or the problem. Okay, we definitely will going to achieve our research objective very easily. Okay, then next we need to identify what are the various techniques or what are the various ways or methods or the approaches we use for defining the problem. The first one is the statement of the problem in a general way. Okay, we need to define the problem statement in the general way, or it should be in the broader sense. In the beginning, we cannot, in the beginning, it is not possible for us to define very straightforward objectives or straightforward problem for the issue. Okay, so in the beginning, we need to have a broader problem definition, and we need to perform certain pilot study or initial study with respect to the problem we have considered, and then we need to define a broader problem. Okay, so before defining the problem, okay, we need to do certain little study, then we decide the broader problems, and this problem has going to be narrowed down after doing the literature survey. Okay, so that's why in the beginning you define the problem in the larger sense or in the broader area. Then second, understand the nature of the problem. Okay, we need to understand what is the origin, how this problem has been originated, what is the previous connection with this problem, and where it has been occurred, how it has been occurred, what is the nature of the problem, what is the characteristics of the problem, and where it has been originated. All these things have to be clearly understood before we define our research problem. The next step is the literature survey. So as I told you that every researcher, okay, in the world, any research publications should be supported by literature review. So as you know that I am working as an editor for 2 journals, and also I am working as an editorial member for international journals, and also editor for international journal, that is Scopus Index journals. Okay, I keep reviewing the research papers which I am receiving from all over the world, okay, since 15 years. Okay, every research paper, unless it is being supported by literature review, I straightforwardly reject the publication of the paper. Okay, that's why the literature survey is most important, and it acts as a second chapter for your research thesis. Okay, you take my example. I have carried out a literature survey. I went to IISc, I went to IIT Kharagpur, I went to JNTU University Hyderabad, I went to IIT Chennai, I went to IISc, and collected nearly 150 research papers related to my domain. before I define my research problem and objective. In the beginning, I had some idea, some thought, some issue or the research problem in my mind defined in the broader sense, and start meeting many peoples, many professors, many experienced people in the industry and professors at IIT. Okay, then I collected around 150 papers. I studied those 150 papers in a span of 6 months, and I prepared a literature review paper, and it was being published before I start my research. So that's why the literature review is most important. Okay, the book tells do literature review. The book doesn't tell you which journals to be referred, which are the journals available presently in the market. No, it doesn't tell. That's why I share my experience with you people such that you can do literature review for your MTech thesis. At least you should know who are the publishers in the market. Okay, then you can identify or search some papers for your research work or for your MTech thesis. So as I told you that the quality publishers are elsewhere, no doubt, elsewhere, Science Direct, Springer Link, Taylor and Francis, Inner Science Publishers, Emerald Publishers, IEEE Explore. So like this, these are the leading publishers of research articles in the world. So each publishers are publishing not less than 300 to 400 domains of the technology of the engineering. Okay, you refer these publishers, identify your domain area, download the papers, study the paper, and at the end of the paper you write down the summary of each paper, 10 to 15 lines as an abstract. What are the objectives they had, what problem they had, what tools they have used, what is the outcome of the paper, all the things you write down in, explain the paper which has been published 10 to 15 pages, you should write it in only one page. Abstract of that 15 pages of research published. So like this you write down for all the papers which have been collected. For MTech you collect 10 to 15 papers and write down the abstract and increase the knowledge in the domain of your project or the research. Okay, when you go for a research, you connect minimum 100 papers. Okay, I keep guiding around 10 candidates. 5 candidates have been already awarded PhD, and another 5 people PhD are in the pipeline. So ask them to, you need to minimum collect not less than 100 papers and do literature review. That's the first step in the research. Okay, so that's why the literature review plays a very important technique in the problem identification. Okay, out of all these tools, the literature review is the one of the outstanding tool for the problem identification. At the end of the literature review, we need to identify what is the literature gap. At the end of the literature review, that gap is to be taken as a issue or the problem for our research. Okay, then the fourth step is developing the idea through discussions. Yes, 100% true. Okay, one is literature review, the other one is the, you need to contact many professors, experienced people, industry people, okay, to identify the problem. We need to discuss with them. We need to discuss with them and then decide the research problem. So don't think that you alone can decide the research problem. No, you meet industry people, big industry people in your domain. There are people who are working in the industry, and meet IIT professors, IIC professors, NIT professors. Talk to them, take an appointment, go to them, talk to them. Sir, I am from so and so college. Sir, I am from so and so industry. I am pursuing my research work. I wanted to identify a research problem. Can you help me? Could you help me? I have this issue. I wanted to work on this. You go and discuss with them. They will guide you to identify the research problem. Okay, that's why the discussion with all the experienced rich people will help you to identify the research problem. Then reface the research problem. After all doing all these things, it takes minimum 3 to 4 months if you are doing a real research. Okay, the problem which has been defined in the general way in the beginning of the research could be reduced or to be fine-tuned after the literature review, the specific title for your research and specific problem for your research and specific objectives for your research. This is how the research problem has to be identified by using these tools and techniques. Okay, take down the questions. Okay, and you write down you answered all these questions and you have to submit when you come to the college. Okay, take the first question. What is research? What are the motivations behind the research? Next question. What is the significance of the research? Next question. What is the research process? Discuss research process with block diagram in detail. Next question. What is the research problem? How to select the research problem? Next question. Identify the techniques involved in defining the research problem. And discuss each technique in detail. Okay, so with respect to this, you prepare a short notes, and you are expected to submit when you come back to the college after this lockdown period due to COVID-19. Okay, and also this has been extended up to 3rd May. Understand? And please, my suggestions: maintain social distance, use mask whenever you go out, and avoid going out, and avoid meeting people in the group. Okay, these are the things. And also try to drink hot water always. Do some exercise in the morning. These are the ways you can eradicate the COVID-19. Okay, the corona. Okay, again we'll discuss some of the points in the next class. Bye, take care.